YouTube says it has had enough of vaccine misinformation on its site.
And false stories from phony sites to run circles around major news outlets.
Many people don't know the difference between something real and something created to deceive them.
Open your eyes.
If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. This is an important video about the demonic hierarchy being manifested in the year 2025 and how this has been planned for a long period of time by witches and Satanists in the United Nations, in corporations like the Lucis Trust, and how we can expect big things to start occurring in the year 2025. In fact, as we all saw, many false flags and psychological operations are already underway. And Alice Bailey was the founder of the Lucis Trust and is the one who wrote the Externalization of the Hierarchy, which was written in the year 1957, which specifically talked about the year 2025 being the years where major changes will take place in the New World Order hierarchy. So, again, Alice Bailey was a very influential occultist, much like Aleister Crowley. In fact, both of them were members of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. Alice Bailey wrote The Initiation, Human and Solar, a book that is associated with the Golden Dawn. And Alice Bailey, who is the founder of Lucis Trust, was once called, the Lucis Trust was once called Lucifer's Publishing Company. And they have a direct correlation to the United Nations. In fact, the United Nations worked directly with the Lucis Trust and continues to work directly with the Lucis Trust. And this is what was written in Alice Bailey's book, The Externalization of the Hierarchy. It is important to listen to this because this is what the plan has been, and we can see how they've been putting the pieces in place for a major deception to occur. Obviously, I'm referencing Donald Trump being put into power for the year 2025 and him playing into the Christian conservative audience. We are going to see major events and major sabotage occurring starting in the year 2025. So Alice Bailey wrote this: "Thus a great and new movement is proceeding, and tremendously increased interplay and interaction is taking place. This will go on until AD 2025. During the years intervening between now, 1957, and then, very great changes will be seen taking place. And at the great assembly of the hierarchy held as usually every century, in 2025, the date in all probability will be set for the first stage of the externalization of the hierarchy. The present cycle from now until that date is called technically the stage of the forerunner. It is preparatory in nature, testing in its methods, and intended to be revelatory in its techniques and results. You can see, therefore, that Chohan's masters, initiates, world disciples, and aspirants affiliated with the hierarchy are all at this time passing through a cycle of great activity." And again, Alice Bailey and the United Nations are tied at the hip. You might remember recently the United Nations had that beast sitting outside of their headquarters. The beast referenced in Revelation chapter 13, verse 2. "And the beast that I saw was like a leopard. Its feet were like a bear's, and its mouth was like a lion's And to it, the dragon gave his power and his throne and great Authority. They put that right outside of the United Nations headquarters in New York City. And they called this thing the Guardian for International Peace and Security. And remember, when they say peace, destruction will cometh. Here is a clip for people out there that if you haven't seen this in regards to the Lucis Trust and the connection to the United Nations and David Rockefeller, I highly recommend you pay attention to this, including the deliberate numerology of 33 and 666, as well as that altar that is in this room inside the United Nations headquarters, because that is an altar that is used for sacrifice. Take a look at what's going on, where your world leaders assemble and, of course, conspire with one another, ultimately for humanity's demise.
United Nations headquarters, which was built in 1945 and financed largely by John D. Rockefeller. Inside UN headquarters is an ominous meditation room. The custodian of the meditation room is Lucis Trust Company. At one time, the Lucis Trust was located at 666 United Nations Plaza and was formerly named Lucifer Publishing Company. The Rockefeller-funded UN meditation room is 33 feet long and 18 feet wide. 18 feet is 6 plus 6 plus 6. The small, dimly lit, windowless room was built in the shape of a pyramid that is laying on its side. At the center of the room is a 4-foot-high, black, casket-shaped stone slab, which weighs 6.5 tons and is extremely magnetic and rests on a concrete pillar. The pillar descends beneath the floor into the bedrock and taps into the Earth's hyperdimensional energies to induce a state of altered consciousness. Not far from the meditation room is the United Nations Security Council chamber. This is the emergency room of the UN, where the world leaders meet when there is a threat to peace. They decide the fate of nations. Notice the giant mural that towers over the Security Council room. The central focus of the UN mural is the phoenix bird that has risen. The phoenix bird is a symbol of Lucifer. Egyptians believed that the phoenix symbolized a god who rose to heaven in the form of a morning star like Lucifer after his fire immolation of death and rebirth. Notice that the phoenix bird is not standing above his own ashes. He is standing above his old skin. Like a snake, he has shed his old skin and is revealing himself as God at the center of the mural. At the top left, there is a church steeple without a cross. The missing cross symbolizes the death of Christianity. Below, a woman receives the rays of the sun god, while the man in front of her plays Pan's flute. To their right are two pyramid symbols and people joined together by a long blue serpent-like cloth. Below the risen phoenix, a sword is driven through a dragon beast. This represents the killing of old beliefs and religions that depicted Lucifer as a beast. The New World religion worships him as beautiful. Behind the phoenix, the ghostly figures of the walking dead are stepping into a void. They symbolize depopulation. On the right panel, the pale horse from the book of Revelation is the bringer of death to humanity through weapons, hunger, and disease. The man is releasing him. The chained black man represents slavery, while the top panel of the mural shows a technologically advanced white race who control industry, art, and science. In this post-apocalyptic mural, the military man standing on the tail of the beast represents worldwide military power. He tips his helmet to the elite, who are climbing out from underground cities where they safely hid from the apocalypse. In the main oval panel above the phoenix bird, a woman is holding flowers. She is the bride in a wedding ceremony. The serpent in human form is tempting the little girl Eve, who accepts the apple. On the right side of the top panel, a reptilian green creature with scaly skin is dancing with a naked woman while musicians entertain him. The general message of the UN's Phoenix Rising mural is that humanity is stepping into a new Luciferic reality. Beneath this disturbingly prophetic mural, world leaders make global decisions that affect the lives of nearly 7 billion people.
So this is stuff that's happening right in front of our faces, where not only are they using symbology like the numerology inside of this building, but also even using that leopard beast sitting out front of the United Nations that they so arrogantly displayed, not thinking it would get much backlash from conservative Christians, because most conservative Christians don't pay attention to the book of Revelation, or in fact that mural that is inside of the United Nations, which of course reminds a lot of people out there, I'm sure, of the Denver airport or some of the other murals that we've seen and broken down over the years. In fact, even that mural that is on display at the World Economic Forum, which always has this common theme of a rebirth and a phoenix rising, as well as the common theme of destruction and chaos that is to come. So Alice Bailey wrote in the externalization of the hierarchy this plan that was in place that would culminate in the year 2025 with a changing of the guard, so to speak. And I think a lot of people out there can feel it. We all know that Agenda 2030 is near, but they also told us that Agenda 2030 was being accelerated to the year 2025. And here we are in 2025. And Alice Bailey's direct connection to the United Nations, as well as to Aleister Crowley and Madame Blavatsky, another witch, and the ageless wisdom that they claim to have taught, which is nothing more than the normalization of things like feminism, the divine feminism, and witchcraft in our society. We could see it all around us. We could see the effects of Alice Bailey's teachings around us. It's like we could see the effects of Aleister Crowley's teachings around us. In fact, Alice Bailey is linked directly to this New Age movement. And this New Age movement we have seen contaminate Christianity, because a lot of Christians out there have gotten sucked into this New Age deception, which teaches a lot and normalizes a lot of these pagan traditions, these witchcraft, Wiccan traditions, and of course practices using crystals and other things that are associated with witchcraft. In fact, you'll see quite often many Christians who are lukewarm, who do not understand this stuff, comment on my video saying that there's nothing wrong with healing crystals and having altars in their home, because this is what has happened to Christianity. These people have infected it, they have infiltrated it, and they've started normalizing occult practices in Christianity. So 2025, Alice Bailey talked about the demonic hierarchy being manifested and in place, and we're seeing it around us right now. The United Nations and Lucis Trust connected at the hip, or should I call it what it really is, because it's not really Lucis Trust. They didn't change the name because they wanted to change the name. They changed the name from Lucifer Publishing Company because too many people were catching on. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Lucis Trust just changes its name back to the Lucifer Publishing Company, since so many people are so dumbed down and have been trained to dismiss everything out there as a conspiracy theory and to laugh all of this stuff off when it comes to Satanism and the occult and the satanic panic, as they have trained people to believe that people like me and you are doing nothing but talk about conspiracy theories, when in fact, these are conspiracy fact. And Nations Conspire, the name of this channel, is what is happening to a T. That's why I named this channel Nations Conspire. In Psalm chapter 2, verse 1 through 3, why do the nations conspire and the peoples plot in vain? The kings of the earth rise up and the rulers band together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, let us break their chains and throw off their shackles. The United Nations in itself is the nations conspiring. And it's not much of a conspiracy theory, folks. It is a conspiracy fact. A conspiracy of globalists, world governments conspiring together against guess who? God in heaven and the people of the earth. I thank everybody for being here. I hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families as always.